Welcome, aspirants, to The Explainer. Today, we're breaking down the International Labor Organization's massive flagship report, the World Employment and Social Outlook for 2025. We're going to distill it into the key points you absolutely need for your exams. Okay, let's dive into our roadmap for today. We'll start with this central contradiction, this paradox in today's global labor market. Then we'll unpack the underlying problems, look at what's going on with productivity and wages, and then we'll synthesize everything for your revision at the end. So, first up, let's get our heads around the big picture, which honestly presents a pretty confusing story. On the surface, if you just glance at the numbers, things look pretty good. But the real question is, what's actually happening underneath? Is the labor market truly thriving, or is there a hidden crisis we're not seeing? Now, this is where that paradox really comes into focus. On one hand, the headline global unemployment rate is at a historically low 5%. Sounds great, right? But on the other hand, there's a massive, persistent jobs gap of over 402 million people. So how can both of these be true at the same time? So what exactly is this jobs gap? This is a crucial term for your exams. Think of it like this. The official unemployment number is just the tip of the iceberg. The jobs gap is the whole iceberg. It includes the officially unemployed plus everyone who wants a job but isn't actively looking, maybe because they're discouraged or have other responsibilities. Let's break down that huge 402 million figure. You've got 186 million who are officially counted as unemployed, but then you have another 137 million in the potential labor force. Think of discouraged workers, and 79 million willing non-seekers, maybe people with care duties. Now, to help you remember this for your answer writing, just use the simple mnemonic UPW. It stands for the components, but it also reminds you that unemployment problems are widespread. Okay, so now that we get the paradox, let's move on and see what's actually causing it. These seemingly good figures are hiding some really deep structural problems, especially for the most vulnerable groups in our societies. The first major vulnerability is youth unemployment. I mean, look at that number, 12.6%. That is more than 3 times the rate for adults. This isn't just a statistic. It represents a huge challenge for an entire generation trying to start their careers. And it's not just about being unemployed. There's another crucial indicator called NEET, which stands for Not in Employment, Education, or Training. Globally, more than 20% of young people are in this category. They're basically detached from the system. And the gender disparity here is just staggering. The rate for young women is more than double that for young men. So, to help you structure your thoughts on the report's main themes, we've got another handy mnemonic for you. YGIP. That's Y for youth unemployment, G for gender gaps, I for informality, and P for productivity slowdown. We've just touched on youth and gender, so let's move on. This brings us to a major bottleneck for global development, this slowdown in productivity. Let's see what's going on here. This timeline really tells a critical story. You can see that even as workers are becoming more productive, that line is going up, their real wages, what they can actually buy with their money, have not caught up, especially since that big inflation spike a couple of years ago. There's a gap. So why is this happening? Well, the report suggests a big reason is rising employer power. There's a key concept here called monopsonistic power. Basically, it means that in some markets, employers have so much power that they can keep wages down because workers don't have many other places to go. This shift in power away from workers is a really big deal. Now for a concept that can give your exam answers a lot more depth. Let's talk about spatial inequalities. This is such a critical idea. It explains why even when a country's economy is growing overall, many regions and the people in them get left behind. If all the growth and good jobs are stuck in just a few big cities, it traps workers in other areas in low productivity jobs and stalls the country's overall development, or what we call structural transformation. Okay, so let's briefly look at how these global trends actually play out in a specific part of the world. This table on Africa is a fantastic case study. Look at sub-Saharan Africa. The official unemployment rate is a relatively low 5.9%. But look at the other numbers. A staggering 86.6% of employment is informal, and over 62% of workers are living in poverty, even though they have jobs. That's the reality behind the headline number. So the crucial point for your analysis is this. In many developing regions, the headline unemployment rate doesn't even begin to tell the real story. The real story is the enormous deficit in what the ILO calls decent work.
All right, let's wrap this up. It's time to consolidate everything into a high-yield summary for your revision. Pay close attention here. These are the slides you'll want to remember.
First, the most important numbers from the report. Global unemployment at 5%, the jobs gap at 402.4 million, youth unemployment at 12.6%, the global NEET rate at 20.4%, with that huge gender gap. And remember, over half the world's workforce, 58.2%, is in informal employment. Note these down. Next up, these are the key analytical terms you should be able to define and use. Things like decent work deficits, structural transformation, monopsonistic power, and spatial inequalities. Using these correctly will really demonstrate a deeper understanding of the labor market. And this slide brilliantly illustrates the major challenges the report highlights. You've got the productivity slowdown, persistent gender gaps, enduring informality, and the fact that progress on decent work has stalled since 2015. These are the big picture trends that form the context for any policy discussion. And we'll end with this thought. The report makes it absolutely clear that as we face new disruptions from things like automation and the green transition, we have a choice. How can policy effectively tackle these deep-rooted problems to ensure social justice for everyone? Without bold, coordinated action, the report warns achieving that goal will remain a very distant dream.